Iron Man. Alright, so when Iron Man was coming out and the trailer came out, I was like, alright, Robert Downey Jr. is gonna be great in the movie.
The 2008 film starring Robert Downey Jr., directed by Jon Favreau, that launched the MCU as we know it today.
Comes a film based on the equivalent of leftover scrap metal, proving that Marvel can build a franchise around just about anybody.
You really think that just because you have an idea, it belongs to you?
What can I say about this movie that hasn't already been said? Not much. Nevertheless, Iron Man has become a classic in the superhero genre. With perfect casting, excellent writing, and superb directing, this film laid the groundwork and blueprint for most, if not all, Phase 1 through 4 Marvel movies. Previous superhero films struggled to find their direction or capture the right audience. With a runtime of 126 minutes, Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Iron Man propelled the Marvel franchise to legendary status. In this episode, we'll examine the specific ideas and directions the film uses that set it apart from its predecessors. But before we get to the review, if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. Also, hitting the notification bell will alert you when we drop new content. If you've already seen the movie and don't need a recap of the events, feel free to skip ahead to the film commentary section of this review. Now, let's get critical. Tony Stark, inheritor of Stark Industries, travels to Afghanistan with Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes to showcase the new Jericho missile. During their visit, their convoy is ambushed and Stark is severely injured by a missile produced by his own company. Captured by the Ten Rings terrorist group, Tony finds himself imprisoned in a cave. A fellow captive, Yinsen, installs an electromagnet in Stark's chest to prevent shrapnel from reaching his heart. The Ten Rings demand Tony build a Jericho missile for them, but Stark and Yinsen suspect that their captors will not honor their promise of freedom. Instead of complying, Tony and Yinsen secretly construct an arc reactor to power an electromagnet and a prototype suit of powered armor for their escape. The Ten Rings discover their plan as the suit nears completion, leading to Yinsen sacrificing himself to buy Stark time to power up the suit. Tony fights his way out, finds the dying Yinsen, destroys the Ten Rings' weapons, and in his escape, crashes in the desert. After being rescued by Rhodes, Stark announces that Stark Industries will no longer manufacture weapons, a decision that concerns his father's old partner, Obadiah Stane. Stark built a more advanced suit and a new arc reactor in his home workshop, keeping the details secret from Stane despite his interest. At a Stark Industries charity event, reporter Christine Everhart informed Stark that his company's weapons are still being used by the Ten Rings in Yinsen's village. Tony, in his new armor, flies to Afghanistan to save the villagers. On his return, he is intercepted by F-22 Raptors and reveals his identity to Rhodes to stop the attack. Meanwhile, Stane, who has been secretly dealing arms to the Ten Rings, retrieves Stark's original suit pieces and orders the death of the Ten Rings' leaders. Pepper Potts, instructed by Tony, hacks into the company's database and discovers Stane's treachery. She informs S.H.I.E.L.D. about Stane's betrayal. Stane, unable to replicate Stark's arc reactor, ambushes Tony at his home and steals the reactor from his chest. Stark replaces it with his original reactor and battles Stane, who is wearing a massive armor suit. Tony instructs Potts to overload the large arc reactor at Stark Industries, causing a massive surge that defeats Stane. The next day, Stark publicly admits to being Iron Man. In a post-credit scene, S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury approaches Tony, hinting at the larger universe of superheroes and the Avenger Initiative. The film Iron Man demonstrates how effective pacing and balance can lead to a successful movie, even with multiple writers involved in its creation. Contrary to the common issue of narrative disarray seen in films with numerous writers, Iron Man stands out due to its strong writing, relatable character development, and timely situational elements. The film utilizes three main elements to avoid being a typical missed opportunity. First, the film's success hinges on its writing and acting, particularly Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Tony Stark. Stark is presented as a multifaceted character who, despite his apparent wealth and success, has significant underlying issues. The movie skillfully reveals Stark's vulnerabilities, stripping him of his power and wealth, which allows the audience to relate to his human struggles. Downey's performance effectively conveys the fear and seriousness needed in critical scenes, highlighting Stark's reliance on his intellect rather than superpower. Downey is extremely charismatic, which translates well on screen, as his character Tony Stark exudes similar charisma. This character development makes Stark relatable, emphasizing that it is his ingenuity and determination, not his wealth, that defines him as Iron Man. Secondly, the film integrates situational elements that resonated with audience at the time of its release. The ongoing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were affecting millions globally, and the film taps into the audience's mixed feelings about these conflicts. By portraying Stark's arms dealings and their consequences, the movie invites viewers to consider the ethical implications of his actions. The visceral depiction of war and sudden death distinguishes Iron Man from previous superhero films, making the audience reflect on the power and responsibility associated with advanced weaponry. This thematic layer of life legacy and the balance between power and responsibility adds depth to Stark's character. Lastly, the soundtrack plays a crucial role in enhancing the film's appeal. The use of AC/DC and classic rock music resonates with a generation that grew up with these bands and the original Iron Man comics. Director Jon Favreau's choice of music from his generation broadens the film's appeal, making it nostalgic for older viewers while introducing younger audiences to classic rock. The soundtrack subtly complements key scenes, enhancing the overall impact of the movie. In conclusion, Iron Man defies the typical pitfalls of multi-writer films by relying on strong character development, timely situational elements, and a cleverly chosen soundtrack. These elements work together to create a film that is both relatable and engaging, establishing Tony Stark as a hero defined by his intellect and
sheer will,
rather than his wealth and status. The successful balance of elements ensures that Iron Man remains a standout film in the superhero genre. Many critics have dissected Iron Man extensively, but I wanted to highlight what I believe are the key elements that make it a groundbreaking film. Despite my praise, the movie is not without flaws. The villain, Obadiah Stane, is underdeveloped and lacks depth, and the film rushes its conclusion, leaving Stane's fate ambiguous. It's unclear whether he's dead or imprisoned. Additionally, by today's standards, the depiction of the Ten Rings terrorist group might be seen as offensive or insensitive in its portrayal of Muslim or Middle Eastern people. Nonetheless, I still consider Iron Man one of the best movies of the 2000s, and for that, I give it a critical rating of B+.